on a worldly level, I've kind of achieved everything. And I'm like, so what? What now? Everyone who's honest and he only has achieved this will realize there's a deep void, there's a dissatisfaction. Many coaches, are in this illusion about themselves, about others, that they are broken and we need to fix them. It's not about being influential, because you cannot be not influential. It is not a choice. You're always influencing everything and everyone you're dealing with.
I don't care what you think, I'ma just do me, and I wanna hear you sing. I got superpowers, I got superpowers, I got superpowers, working 7 days a week and 24 hours.
Constantin Cranz, welcome to the show. Welcome to Become Your Own Superhero.
Thank you for the invitation.
This has been recorded live in Medellin, Colombia. And Medellin, Colombia is always going to hold a special place in my heart for a number of reasons. But one of them was because I bumped into this guy very serendipitously, staying at an Airbnb in the world's coolest suburb of Laurales. You want to look that up. Forbes magazine, #1 suburb in 2023. And I'm heading to the roof, and there's a sauna and a rooftop, and here's Constantin meditating. One thing led to another, and we've since become firm friends, and you've become my coach, my spiritual coach, friend, and support structure while we've been here in Medellin. So I'm very, very excited to have you on the show today.
Me too. I'm really excited to be here.
So I think a good place to start, Constantin, is if you had to describe what you did to a 10-year-old child, how would you articulate that, do you think?
You mean in terms of working?
What you do. Yeah.
It's actually quite simple. All of us, and I mean literally all of us, we are natural genius. Everyone.
I like that.
And that's a given. That's a fact, And this does not only apply to skills or talents. This applies to from our true nature, our true being. This is perfection. It's joy. It's love. It's abundance. It's who we are. There's nothing we have to do with it. This is a given. This is our birthright. Okay. So, and a 10-year-old would be the same. Even when I work with children, which I do, I don't treat them like children. I treat them like awake, empowered beings. That's why I have a very good connection. I don't like, no, they're amazing. And all I'm doing is reminding, inspiring, inviting them to remember, like, hey, you are amazing. You are amazing. Don't listen to any stuff that you hear in media and social media and people telling you in schools and whatever they tell you who you should be or what you think you can do or you couldn't do. You have to start listening to your own heart. And I don't mean this in an abstract spiritual sense. I mean this in a very practical way. Like the heart is literally communicating with all of us all the time. There is a knowing, which sometimes is in forms of feelings or images or thoughts, but it's a constant invitation to express your deepest love, your deepest charm, your deepest knowledge. So, and all you need to do is pay attention and participate in that knowing. And that's really boiled down to the essence a 4-year-old can understand.
I think, and I love that, by the way, I want to put you on the spot a little bit, Constantin, because we've been working together for, I want to say 3 months. And when we first met, before I ask you this question, for anyone that's been listening to the channel or has been following the podcast, reading the book or whatever, I know that some of the work I do is in the coaching space as well. Coaches have coaches. And our coach, you're right. And a coach that doesn't have a coach is someone that you probably want to be a little bit apprehensive about working with, because we can always continue to learn. Where would you say, from your observation, I was at when you and I met? And then we'll get into what's happened since then. This is me being totally raw and vulnerable.
Okay. I'm going to be very honest.
Please be honest. Please be honest.
Because you're obviously a very smart and very charismatic person. You're very lovable from the beginning, and you radiate a sense of understanding, and empowerment, and confidence, which is all genuine. Okay, so that's all genuine. And at the same time, when I met you, I realized you had a lot of intellectual understanding about what you were saying and doing, but I felt it was not grounded in reality. Like you were way ahead of yourself in terms of conceptual knowledge. Yeah, so you could already speak very smart and very intelligently about all of these things. But I felt, okay, but you don't really live that. You're not fully experiencing what you're actually talking about. Yeah? And that's not even in a negative way, because this is true for most people, like literally, I would say probably 99%.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of courage to constantly admit your shortcomings in a way, and constantly remind yourself of the necessity to let go and be a beginner, to constantly be a beginner, like always learning. And the more you think you know, the less you know. It's literally like this. And for me, I have a master in philosophy, so it's one of my dearest arts, yeah. And one of my greatest inspirations was always Socrates, And he was a living embodiment of wisdom and love and compassion. And his main teaching was, I know that I don't know anything. Mm-hmm. But this is not a declaration of stupidity. This is a declaration of pure humbleness. Because especially the way we use knowing conceptually is in terms of information. And information already carries the word form, right? So you carry a lot of stuff when you have a lot of information. So to be the genius, to be the superhero, what you're already living and demonstrating, and why this whole show exists, is you have to be empty. You have to be a vessel for divinity, for geniusness, for wisdom to express through you. And one of the main things I was doing with you is like, Laban, we have to empty yourself out. Get rid of all the stuff that you think you know, to be actually ready to really listen to your own guidance and not be in your own way, which is, by the way, again, most people, including myself, like one of the main purposes of meditation is to be empty. And empty doesn't not mean nothingness in terms of there's absolutely black nothing. No. It's a state of pure receptivity and extreme power. It's extremely powerful to be nothing, to be not a thing, like to be empty and allow the genius and the power and the wisdom to express through you. And the less you are interfering, the more powerful it is. And all I was doing is just inviting you to do this, demonstrating to you how to do it, and then teaching and showing you the meditations to do this. And remember, you had this incredible breakthroughs of heartbeat going down to I don't know what, and it'd be like in total silence, and you start feeling the bliss of pure being.
So just my resting heart rate dropped, I want to say 7 or 8 beats a minute. Yeah. And I'm pretty fit and it's pretty good anyway. But for it to go down, it was getting down into like the high 30s, which is like Lance Armstrong was 33 beats a minute resting heart rate when he was cheating and taking IPO, whatever he was taking. So it was a visceral, physical, obvious shift for me. But then all the other stuff started to happen as well. And it sort of crescendoed, at least to that point, with me deleting all of my social media. And some of it I wasn't able to fully delete, but I deleted a 17-year-old Facebook account, an Instagram account, thousands of hours of building it up, and what a liberating experience. Why was that experience so liberating from an observational point of view, do you think?
G'day there, and pardon the interruption, it's Laban Ditchburn here, affectionately known as the world's best courage coach. And if I'm someone that you've been listening to or watching on this podcast that you resonate with in some way, and you see me as being a possible solution to some of your biggest challenges, I would love to make available to you today a complimentary transformational coaching session. And I have limited space available. If this is something that resonates with you, go into the show notes or in the YouTube or the Rumble, find the scheduling link, book the time on your calendar, and let's get this started. Now, back to the show.
For two reasons. First of all, and that's the main reason, you were listening to your guidance. Because I never had any idea how your guidance actually is going to express through you. And that's one of my superpowers. I'm not giving advice. Oh, you should do this, as if I would know. What do I want? My job is to help you to get rid of your confusion. And that what I mean with confusion is all the conditioning, the programming, the self-imposed limitations from the whole life, decades, right? And then your true self can express, your true being can show. And in your case, that's what it was showing, right? So that was the first thing. It's like, oh, he's listening. Great. And the second thing is the courage to do it. It's one thing to listen and then to do it.
And, Constantin, we've spoken about this, but I've met and spent time with some incredible spiritual leaders and some amazing people. And just for people who haven't heard of you, which would be pretty much most people who have thought, people like Byron Katie and Joe Dispenza, who are some of the other major, more well-known people that you've been inspired by and have learned from in your journey?
Honestly, I've followed many, many spiritual teachers in the coaching world, but also in the more religious or traditional context. I started doing this when I was a teenager. So one of my first real contacts was like more of a shamanism with Carlos Castaneda, like most people know about. It's like a very esoteric shamanic tradition from the Toltecs from Mexico. That was actually my first. And then I went more into the Buddhist tradition, like with Vipassana and Waker. Waker was a very inspiring person for me for many years. And then it went through Namkha Nobu Rinpoche, to Chicken Trungpa.
I don't know any of these people.
That's quite well known in the Buddhist traditions.
Yeah.
They're famous in the Buddhist traditions. And then in the Christian context, like for me, I know Jesus sounds like a super religious figure, but for me, he's also a very role model in terms of love, compassion, and surrender to.
He's a real guy. He's a real
guy. So if you ask me who inspired me, he's one of my greatest inspirations, right? Yeah. And then, so there are many more. So
I think, and I'm glad I asked it. Just there's the subjects that we spend time working on. The people that are at the sort of the interim stages of their journey, it's like, what am I getting myself into? And just from an observational point, what I was going to say before is you're probably one of the first people to get me to consistently meditate, and which was like, entrepreneurs, because they don't like being told what to do for a number of other reasons, but that whole process helped, particularly during a very challenging time. We've been on the road for 2.5 years and gone through a number of these pregnancy challenges, which we speak about a lot. So it was really beneficial. But one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast was A, for posterity, but B, also to expose you to people that would have never heard of you otherwise. Because I think what I've learned and how I've been able to adopt some of this, and I haven't been able to adopt all of it, but it's been enough where it's been a shift, and I'm more measured. The way that I speak and conduct myself has improved, and that's all we're trying to do, right? So if you had to describe who is like an ideal person for you to work with?
That's a very good question. Because first of all, I was never marketing myself or like going out and looking for clients, because I have such a deep trust in life that I'm always going to meet the right people who are ready to receive what I have to offer, like us. Like it's random, right? Yeah. I would say the ideal client is someone who is ready to work. They have to have had a certain level of success in their life where they're like, I basically got everything I want, like I got the money, I got the relationship, I have friends, I have influence, like on a worldly level, I've kind of achieved everything. And I'm like, so what? What now?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone who's honest and he only has achieved this will realize there's a deep void, there's a dissatisfaction, there is a longing. We're nothing of that's in that category we just talked about can fulfill you. It can't. But there's nothing wrong with the human part or the material world. But this will never offer a real fulfillment. So you have to, you have at one point you have to aim for a deeper spiritual, true connection to yourself, to know yourself. And then you can still enjoy all the worldly stuff, but you will have a fulfillment, a meaningfulness that is not based on circumstances, place, objects, or any form of gain in the material world.
Yeah.
So that's the ideal client to put it back down is someone who has achieved basically everything in their life on the material level, the human level, but they want to go way deeper.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be a living role model, like you. Yeah, like it's not enough to just be known and have money and have a great relationship. You want to be a demonstration of someone who is ready to serve and willing to provide their skills, their capacity, their abilities to improve the whole life of this planet and beyond.
Recently, Anna and I interviewed a husband and wife couple, high-end coaches out of New Zealand, and he got invited to the King of Malaysia's palace.
Nice.
Pretty sure it was Malaysia. And if it's not, I apologize. It was around in that area. And he had a conversation with the king, who he met through the king's daughter. He asked him if he was happy. He said, no, I'm not. The palace has become my prison. And isn't that hilarious?
Great example.
Right, this guy's got everything, but he doesn't have the thing that I think people are actually searching for. And I talk to people about this a lot. Like when people are told, get the job and the wife and the 2.4 kids and the white picket fence, the promotional other stuff. I think what they're actually looking for, at least from what I can tell, is fulfillment. And how do you get fulfillment? Through purpose, like through service. Why is that not taught anywhere in school?
One of my teachers, also a Buddhist master, always told me very clearly, he's still a great teacher. Like the only one to blame is ignorance. Okay? So it's never to blame yourself or someone else. Ignorance is a thing. Like ignorance is literally, especially on this planet, it's not knowing who you are. Not knowing who you are. You can call it the veil if you want. Okay? Not knowing who you are. It's a thing. Because we are already perfect. Our soul, our being, our nature is already whole and complete and perfect as it is. So we don't need to fix this, which is another huge confusion on this point. Psychotherapy, psychiatry, many coaches, are in this illusion about themselves, about others, that they are broken and we need to fix them. The point is, there's nothing to fix. We need to confront the ignorance, the confusion of the not knowing of who we are, which is covering up all the beauty, all the abundance, all the light, all the goodies, right? So we only have to remove the obstacles which are not allowing us to see and experience and know who we really are, and to feel and embody this in our moment-to-moment experience. So all we need to do, and it doesn't matter if you have a coach, or if you follow a religion, or if you have your own practice, or you have a teacher, there's a universal curriculum, independent of tradition and race and color, any of us. It's about, is it helping you to find this fundamental confusion, the fundamental error in your own mind, because that's where it is. It's not out there. It's not in your partner. It's not in your parents. It's not in the bad politicians or the better. It's in your mind. And you need to see this, and you need to find it, because it's not something you can fight. It's not something you have to get rid of. It's something you have to see. And when you are becoming aware of the ignorance, the confusion, that you are causing yourself, because suffering is an activity. It's not a thing. So you have to notice and see and confront this own tendency in your own mind in order to see and feel that you are doing it. You're doing it to yourself. And that's how you can stop it.
Why does it feel good? Or the perception, certainly with me, wallowing in self-pity feels good. And just a quick caveat, a friend of mine, Vanessa, I've spoken about, she said to me, I'm one of the few coaches that encourages people to feel self-piteous for a little bit. What do you think of that? But why does it feel good when you're going, the world's against man, it's all their fault, blah, blah, blah.
Because one of the main effects of this ignorance or consequences is guilt. That's the worst. Because in the moment you're not aware of who you are, there is fear. Because suddenly you feel separate. Yeah? So it's you against the whole universe, basically. Yeah? You're separate from everything, right? And from that place, there is a fear. And the fear is, oh my God, I did something wrong. Why do I feel so bad? Because in the moment you fall into the illusion of not knowing who you are and being a separate entity, there is fear and pain. There's a contraction, literally contraction. And in that moment, you feel very, very vulnerable. And then you feel like you have to defend yourself against the world. And this creates a form of guilt. Why guilt? Because guilt attracts punishment. Because there's fear, you feel there's something wrong, you feel attacked. So you have to protect yourself. In that moment, and I'm talking about this moment is actually now. It's not in the past. This happens every moment, okay? Depends only how much awareness do you have to notice this pattern in yourself going and going and going, like a vicious cycle, right? Into like, what is it? And from that point, we want to get rid of the guilt. And the best way, it's not the best way, by the way, but what we think at that moment is just put it out there. Blame the world. Blame other people. Because then it's their fault. And this feels very good, actually. It's like, thanks God. It's not my fault. It's all the others. So you start blaming everyone. And in that moment, because you're actually not getting rid of the guilt. But in that moment, it feels like, because you're projecting it outward. Does it make sense?
Yeah, it does. What you've got me thinking is, and maybe you don't have to answer this, but I'm going to ask anyway, how do you explain really terrible things happening to helpless children or babies?
The point is, what I definitely don't want to do is to provide any answer that is based on opinions.
Yeah.
I found my own explanations, but they are not necessarily true. And I have learned in my life to stick to what I know. And what I know to be true, I'm like, I know that's true because I've tested it. And as soon as something becomes a principle, which for me, the definition of a principle, it means it's universally true.
Mm-hmm.
It's not based on belief. It's not based on opinions. It's not based on personal preferences or religions or dogmas or cultures or traditions. It's just true.
Yeah.
Okay. So I stick to that because I'm like, look, I can tell you it's true, but don't believe me until you found out for yourself it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And these kind of questions, I couldn't answer like this. I couldn't give an explanation where I say, that's true. I could say, look, I think it's because of this, but actually, I don't really know.
I wonder if you think along the same lines, because this is a really interesting question for me, because if you get caught up watching the news you could easily be sucked into the thing that the world is ending. But the reality is that it's not, right?
No.
And when I learned about Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian Weiss, like the fact that we are these infinite spiritual beings. But the best of my recall is that it doesn't matter what age we are magnetizing these things into our life.
Yes.
And that might be a tough concept for people to
Exactly.
chew on. It's only an opinion, or not even an opinion, it's just a thought. But I think me being more curious about this kind of stuff has helped me be at peace with the world. And I'll give you an example. Last night I was on a phone call with a lady, and I won't mention her name just to protect her anonymity, but her son, who's like 22, has advanced ALS, the youngest case of ALS ever recorded in Australia. And he's lost basically all ability to speak at this point. He can blink and all this other stuff. And that poor woman is at a point now where she's suffering more than what she should. What I'm very hopeful and optimistic for is that throughout this whole journey, because of the people that have been involved in trying to help in the allopathic and in the alternative medicine space, is that she's being awakened spiritually. It's only a very short period of time where she's going to start to understand and be at peace, I think, with what's happening to her son, because she would switch it in a heartbeat. Her words.
Let me offer you a very, very useful concept.
Please.
To shift the question of why something is happening to what is it for? And it's not even that it can't be interesting to understand where something is coming from, right? That could be interesting. But on a practical level, whatever happens to you, I mean, good and bad, if you shift from, oh, where is it coming from, to what is the benefit of this happening right now? What is the gift? What am I able to learn here? How can I grow with this? What am I offered, as an opportunity to know myself, to go beyond myself, to expand? And then what you're doing is you literally focus all their energy, their full potential into finding a solution. And I have studied in the last 20 years so many biographies, autobiographies of people who have gone through the worst things you could ever imagine.
Yeah. And
coming out like as amazingness.
Like Viktor Frankl kind of level.
For example, right? I mean, there's so many, including myself. We want to know, what can we do with this? And it doesn't matter if this is on an individual level, on a relationship level, or on a collective level. What is the planet in the state it is now? Who cares? It is. So what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And if people like us, using their genius, using their birthright as this incredible beings that we are, and if we would start realigning all these capacities and talents, we could heal or transform this planet within a century. And it doesn't even matter why it is how it is.
Yeah, I even think sooner.
And also being realistic. We cannot really live like if millions of people who are awake, taking responsible for their lives, for their communities, showing their resources, their talents and skills, and put all the minds together of how to recreate, how to resource, how to reorganize, realign communities, states, science, religion, philosophy, art, into a cohesive, shared co-creation. I mean, how amazing.
Very amazing. Yeah.
And this is not exaggerated. This is not like utopian fantasy. This is pure pragmatic use of intelligence. But we have to do this.
What percentage of the planet do you estimate is what you would consider spiritually awake at the moment? So there's 8 billion people, like 5%.
I mean, maybe they have to define first what spiritual awake means.
At a level where they are aware that, like going back to what you said at the beginning, where they realize that they don't know anything at all. Like, I haven't met too many.
Unfortunately, I don't think there are too many, but let's be very optimistic. If we go into a few percent, I would be very optimistic.
Yeah.
But I would love if that's the case, because if we talk about a few percent, we're talking, about quite a few million people.
Well, tens of millions. Yeah.
Right.
And
so it's like,
what I find interesting is when I saw an interview on Joe Rogan's podcast last year with Dr. Asim Malhotra, who's a British cardiologist, and he was then a guest on my podcast, and he was speaking out against a lot of the pandemic stuff, and he was saying you need 6 large figures to open up about a narrative to shift the whole global perception. He's talking about people like The Rock, Oprah, Tony Robbins, like that level of influence to combine together and say, hey, we made a mistake. And that's mathematically enough momentum. So you're talking about 6 people. So even if it's 1% spiritually awake, it's irrelevant because we only need a small number. When you look at the, like David Hawkins's levels of map of consciousness, it's like once you get to a certain point, for every one person, it positively is 250 million people or something at a time, isn't it? Like Mother Teresa, with what she was doing.
It's true. Of course, the more awake you are, also the more powerful you are.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
What do you mean powerful? What do you mean powerful? Give me an example.
Look, it comes back to understanding that you at your nature, at your core, and if you, I mean everyone, you are all powerful. Like, again, Jesus, when he said, you are like God, you're created in the image of God. It sounds almost etc., but you're as powerful as God. You are infinitely powerful, but you can use this power for anything, including of not knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can pretend to be a separate, weak, stupid, ignorant, unhealthy, whatever, like you can think this, and you will use your God-given birthright of infinite creator power to pretend that this is who you are, and you will experience, not forever, because it's not true, but it's like a role. You can step into any role and pretend to play it for some time and believe it. So what I'm saying, someone, and I mean anyone, including you, watching, anyone who remembers, realizes our real nature, who we really are, and I mean not conceptually, oh, I'm just like God, great, no, I mean like something that needs to be discovered, experienced, embodied, and lived, becomes more and more and more and more full. Like Gandhi, for example, or Nelson Mandela, or whoever you want to name, all these geniuses who just remember, oh, I'm a child of God, I'm infinitely powerful, and I'm here to serve, and then they become a living role model. Jesus, whoever, But this is not an exception. At this time, on this planet, these are exceptions. But this is just because the confusion and the ignorance on this planet is still very, very high. In reality, these beings are normal. They're just expressing who they are. They're not special. And that's another huge confusion. We always think we have to become special. We have to do the opposite. Like, specialness is the problem, because we can be special in only 2 ways. We can be better than others or worse. Yeah. And we have to stop with this game. No one is better than anyone else, but also no one is worse than anyone else, because we are all equally innocent and pure and powerful.
Have you come across Jay Shetty?
I've heard the name.
Indian guy.
I've not.
American Indian guy. But so at the time of recording, we're in March 2024. There was a report done on him. So he's a guru. And with whatever you think of that, there's all this data that's come out that's suggesting that he might have lied about spending time in ashrams and stuff and said he was in Bradford. And it's funny you bring up this special thing. These people have benefited so much from what he shared that had he not, if this is true, I don't know yet, but if he lied and said he was in this ashram for a year meditating like a monk, I think he wrote the monk who drives a Ferrari or something. Don't quote me on that. But if he had not lied about that and then just did what he did, he would have eventually had the same impact. And then because of the credibility and the truth, he would have then surpassed later on. And I've heard this about a number of like kind of gurus. It's like that Tony Robbins Netflix documentary, I'm Not Your Guru, right? Yeah. Like, I think what you're sharing today, part of it is at least we don't need to be at this level in order to be able to influence. We just need to learn about ourselves and be awake to it.
Because the point is, again, about influence. It's not about being influential or not, because you cannot be not influential. It is not a choice. You're always influencing everything and everyone you're dealing with. So the question is not, am I influential or not? And that's the next thing. It's not about quantity. There's a real misunderstanding. You're not more successful or more impactful when you reach more people. You could be a saint and only affect your family or your friends or people around you, and you could have a huge impact on this planet because it's all interconnected, like the butterfly effect. It's not about the conscious knowingness of what people do or how they do it. And that's really, really important because especially in the whole social media world, we measure success in terms of followers and influence and views and clicks and clients. This is really huge confusion. That's why, like you say, this podcast, I don't have too many followers. That's not the point. For me, it's not the point that I reach millions of people. If I'm supposed to do that, fine. If I'm only supposed to work with a few people in my life, and these people are going to awaken to their true self and being able to live from that place, that's amazing. And it's really important for you, whoever is listening. Success is a definition. How much are you able to surrender and listen and trust your guidance and be a living demonstration of that in your life? Whatever that means, as a father, as a son, as a mother, as a leader in your community, as in whatever work you're doing, there's no hierarchy in that.
I love that, Constantin. I want to go back to this friend of mine who's basically immobile and 22 years of age, had his whole life ahead of him. Like, things aren't looking good. If you were sitting down with him now, given the fact that he can't communicate back with you in a speaking manner, but intuitively you kind of have to rely on that.
Yes.
What would you say to him? And the reason I'm asking this is that for anyone else that's out there or listening to this now that's going through something that seems unfathomable, it seems impossible to overcome, what's one piece of advice?
First of all, if I would sit down with him, say him?
John, yeah.
John. If I would sit down with John, first of all, I would just connect. Because just because you don't speak doesn't mean you can't communicate. Actually, speaking is 5 to 7% of total communication that goes on. So I would just sit there for whatever time and connect and feel. I would feel like, what am I receiving on information, on communication by connecting? And based on that communication, I would know what to say or if to say anything at all. I would not go there with like, oh, I'm this great coach. I'm going to help this guy and teach him whatever. No, maybe he's teaching you. What do you know? I would sit there and listen. I would wait. I would like, hey, what's actually going on? And there would be a message. And then I would know what to do. Because my job is to see this being as whole and pure and perfect. And to remember that he or she is actually God. And she or he is in his and her own process. And for me, there's no way to judge in what kind of level this person is in their own evolution. This could be a fully enlightened master incarnated right now in this form to teach the world something that we don't even understand. Mm-hmm. So that would be my message.
You'll see this. I'm going to send this to him as well.
Yeah.
And I hope you appreciate this, John. I don't mean to put you on the spot. But what's interesting is as we're in this conversation, I had all these like incredible thoughts flood into my mind about cool stuff that I can do with what I'm good at to create better outcomes for John and his family. It's just interesting how,
sure,
right? Isn't that cool? So like,
and the first thing is not to have pity.
None.
It's really like curiosity. It's like, wow, what is it for again? What is it for? And then if you can help, of course, please help. Like in whatever form.
Yeah.
Presence, money, support, whatever you can or whatever we can, and then, but listen. Don't pretend you know what's happening and that you think you have a solution. I'm not saying you don't have one, but be patient, wait and see what this, because whenever you meet someone like this, in my definition, you're in a relationship with that person. And that in that relationship, you need to be silent in order to know what this relationship is for. It's one thing you should be sure that this relationship has a purpose. It's for healing. It's for growing. It's for awakening, because that's the purpose of every relationship, right? And the question is, what is the specific form of this relationship right now? Is it a friendship? Is it romantic? Is it sexual? Is it business? Is it spiritual? Is it whatever, But if you don't impose your own limitations in terms of hopes, fears, expectations, you can actually see what the relationship is. And then you can both learn together, support each other, and grow in that. And I'm mentioning this because that's also how I see any coaching client relationship. It's not me being on a podcast and then teaching from above. It's using everything which is there within us and between us to make use of this relationship for the best possible outcome for both of us, which is called win-win. And any relationship, in my opinion, should or could be used in that manner.
Constantine, I know people are going to be fascinated and curious to learn more about you. How do people get a hold of you?
I have Instagram, I have Facebook. Constantin Cranz is there. You find me. I don't have seen anyone else with it.
You better spell it for people just in case.
It's like the movie Constantine, just without an E.
With Keanu Reeves.
But also the movies, Constantine movies.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they're also with C, Constantine. And then you have Cranz, C-R-A-N-C, like Cranz. I don't know,
he's Austrian.
Austrian. By the way, I'm from
Austria. That's why he sounds a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes. I don't live in Austria since many years, but I'm originally born there.
Tell people what the website is.
Yeah, the website is called realitycheck.one.
O-N-E?
Yeah, O-N-E.
O-N-E, yeah.
O-N-E.
Realitycheck.one. And on there, there's a guided meditation training,
yes,
which I've personally gone through, which is a large part of what we were doing. I highly, highly recommend that as well. Constantine, I feel a bit sad actually because we've just decided we're going to leave Colombia. You're going to be away for the next couple of months, gallivanting around the world. But do you have any final concluding thoughts for our amazing audience today?
Sure. First of all, whatever you heard today, and if there's anything that I've said that has inspired you, wonderful. Yeah, please use it. Make use of it as much as you can. If there's anything that has triggered you or provoked you, wonderful. Please use it and use it for your own benefit in whatever way. If I can be of benefit to you in whatever form, I also offer free sessions, getting to know sessions, discovery sessions. So what I recommend is whatever you can do in your life, make a clear intention that you want to awake, that you want to know who you are, that you want to be here to serve, that you want to contribute to life, to this planet as much as you can, and call it life, universe, God, however you want to call it, we'll do everything to help you with this. It doesn't matter if it's me or Laban or a book or any teacher or a course, as intention is the most powerful thing in the universe. If you have a clear intention and you commit to this, then everything is going to help you. And it doesn't matter what it is. Trust that you are meant to be the highest version of yourself. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You will go there. And you will find the right people, the right opportunities, the right support for you to do that. And I know you will.
Ladies and gentlemen, Constantin Cranz.